All right, hello everybody. Welcome in to Two Countries, Two Americas, All Sports. It's episode 97 here, as we have reached spooky season. It is now October 4th, 2023, here late on this October 4th. I'm Nick Hill, as always, from Chattanooga, Tennessee, the United States. And joining me from Americana, Sao Paulo, Brazil, is Gustavo Tomazeli. And Gus, I understand there's some big games being played tonight in Brazil.
Oh,
Are here in America with the MLB playoffs underway.
we're gonna have. I'm doing great. We're gonna have to start right in with the Brazilian topics because Fluminense just did a heroic performance, like a true heroic performance in the Libertadores semifinals. They just beat Internacional. They were down 1-0 at halftime. Gabriel Mercado scored, and then in the second half, they had an outstanding performance. They dominated the second half. No chance for Internacional. I think Internacional kind of went a little bit of defense more than they should, and Fluminense never backed down. They kept playing the same way they always do, and John Kennedy and Cano both scored, and Cano, the goal scorer, the top goal scorer of Libertadores, he deserves more. Like, he's the best player, like, in the Brazilian league by far. Like, he's like the best striker. I wish he was Brazilian. I'm sad he's an Argentinian because he's by far the best striker Brazil has. And what a true heroic performance. And now both head coaches are yelling at each other. So congratulations to Fluminense, and they're gonna play the Libertadores final at home because when Libertadores was this year's Libertadores was set up, the final was gonna be in Rio de Janeiro, Maracanã. No matter what team was going to be there, but Fluminense from Rio de Janeiro is going to be at the finals in Maracanã. They already played one Libertadores final in Maracanã back in 2008. They lost to LEDU from Ecuador, but what a heroic performance. And the Brazilian national team head coach is also Fluminense head coach. So Fernando Diniz must be feeling in the skies. I mean, he's in the top of his career. Like, what a true heroic performance. Congratulations to Fluminense and their fans. Just have to say that.
Yeah, and obviously for Flamengo, I mean that's another L for them. See, they
Oh yeah.
will get to
Oh
Libertadores in a year where they can't win anything.
no, yeah, it's a slap on their face in the Flamengo fans because they're gonna have to see their biggest rival having a big chance to win at their kind of their stadium. I mean, Maracanã is not Flamengo stadium; it's also they share with Fluminense. But Fluminense has a second chance to win at home. Flamengo never won the Libertadores at their stadium. In 1981, they won in Chile. In 2019, the final was in Lima, Peru, and 2022 was in Ecuador. So they never won at their home soil. And Fluminense have a big chance to win at their stadium. I mean, for Flamengo fans, definitely is a slap in their face, and I'm happy for Fernando Diniz because a lot of people said he didn't deserve to be the Brazilian intern. I have to say intern because we had like the Brazilian Confederation still thinking about hiring Carlo Ancelotti, but as the more I see from Fernando Diniz, I think he more deserves to be not just the interim head coach, but the full-time head coach of the Brazilian national team because he has great offensive play. Fluminense is really playing well. Congratulations to Fluminense. Great performance. 2-1 win at Internacional Stadium. And it's so funny. Fluminense Stadium. They have a small stadium. They don't actually play there, but they have like a kind of like a training stadium, and there it's full of fans. The fans are celebrating, and it's congratulations to Fluminense. And their opponent is going to be defined tomorrow as Palmeiras play against Boca Juniors. I'll be broadcasting that game. I think it's going to be on penalty shootouts because both teams are very heavily defense oriented. I think Palmeiras is not playing their best right now. They're gonna have trouble getting into Boca's defense, but I think Palmeiras is going to advance, but it's going to be on penalty shootouts. I think it's going to be on penalty shootouts, and but Fluminense is already there waiting the opponent, which is going to be defined tomorrow. Jason Warwick, hey,
they really have to try to break up that Brazilian dominance. I know the past couple of years the Libertadores has been very much Brazilian dominant, and Boca Juniors seems to be the one team that has.
If it was up to Conmebol headquarters and Conmebol front office, the one who kind of manage Libertadores, they're all up for Boca Juniors win because all South America, excluding Brazil, is tired of seeing the Brazilian dominance you put out. And one Brazilian team was going to be there no matter what happens, Fluminense or Internacional. And Fluminense is going to be kind of home field advantage because, it's going to be on Maracanã. So it's going to be full of Fluminense fans. But it's going to be a great final in November. Can't wait. And I'll be rooting for Fluminense, no matter who they play against, Boca or Palmeiras, because Fluminense plays a style of game, and Jason Warwick pointed out, Ancelotti will be the best coach for the modern era of Brazil. But I still like the way Fluminense plays and the way Fernando Diniz kind of coaches their teams, plays offense, keeping possession, the transition between defense and offense is just outstanding. So Fluminense winning the Libertadores kind of, will bring back a little bit of joy of soccer. It'll be kind of, bringing back the way soccer was played in the past with more possession and transition and passing and, kind of keeping the ball, not only physicality and, running. I don't know, but I'm just happy for Fluminense. They truly deserve to be in Libertadores final. And I think it's going to be Fluminense and Palmeiras in Rio, but I might be wrong. We'll see tomorrow at 8:30 Eastern, 9:30 Brazilian time. Just to finish up Brazilian topics, because we kind of have a lot of American topics to cover. Brazilian Championship with week 25. Botafogo tied on Monday, and they fired their head coach, actually. They fired their head coach, even though they're first place, 7 points ahead. But Botafogo CEO, the American John Textor, he's a true American. He's impatient. He was not confident with Bruno Lage. He felt the coach was too emotional, too confused. He benched the best player, Tiquinho Soares. So I guess as an American owner, he's impatient and he wants to see result. And Botafogo was not playing well the last 5 games, and he fired the coach. And Botafogo's going to have a new coach. Yeah.
You go the entire year dominating. And yes, I understand the last 4 games you have 1 point, but you still have a 7-point cushion. And the table below you is in chaos. We got Bragantino in second. They came the heck out. They came out of nowhere. They were down in 6 or 7 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Seems like you could let your coach ride the ship there and see if you can finish the season. I mean, you only have 14 matches left.
But to be honest, the coach that was coaching Botafogo right now was not the one that started the campaign. The one that started the campaign and put Botafogo in the first place, Luis Castro, he's coaching right now Cristiano Ronaldo's team, Al Nassr in Saudi Arabia. So he was a replacement for Luis Castro, but he never fit in. I felt like he was never fit in. He gave an emotional press conference after a loss that felt that he wasn't ready for the job. So I think that Textor did the right thing. He kind of avoided Botafogo losing the first place, and I think he made a bold decision. I don't know if it's going to pay off or not, but I think he had to make changes in order for Botafogo to stay in first place and keeping being in first place. And you said it right. Bragantino came out of nowhere in second place. Even the fans, the front office, the coaching staff is surprised. They're still thinking about making the points to not be relegated, but I guess the organization pay off. And compared to last year where they had a true disappointing Brazilian championship, I think it's not surprising to see an organized, tough team with a big investment from Red Bull to be in the top of the Brazilian league. I think it's true deserved, but I think once Palmeiras, if Palmeiras is eliminated tomorrow in Libertadores, I think they're gonna take more focus into the Brazilian championship. That might be a differential. If Palmeiras advances to the Libertadores final, I think they're going to not focus in the Brazilian championship. Then Bragantino might have a shot on fighting for the title. But if Palmeiras is eliminated tomorrow, then it's another discussion.
So Botafogo fans better hope Palmeiras wins tomorrow.
Yeah. Botafogo fans are really hoping for Palmeiras win and advance in the Libertadores final. And last but not least, congratulations to União São João. They are the Paulista under-23 champions. We covered the tournament more focused on Rio Branco. They won 2-0 at home on Saturday, and they are the Paulista under-23 final. That's it for the Brazilian topics. Again, congratulations, Fluminense advancing to Libertadores. Great. The fans are still celebrating, and they're going to do it all night long.
Yeah, as well as they deserve to. Obviously, a huge win for them to move on to the finals. All right, so I do kind of start off the American side with a little bit of sad news. So, do want to say rest in peace to Tim Wakefield. He was a bullpen pitcher, known for his knuckleballs for the Red Sox back in the day. Was on both the 2004 and 2007 Red Sox championship teams. Apparently, he had some sort of brain cancer, and unfortunately, that led to his death. He was only 57 years old, so very young. Thoughts and prayers go out to his family and friends. But the other thing I wanted to bring up in regards to him is Curt Schilling. Of course, obviously, Curt Schilling, obviously legendary pitcher, and Jason Wyrick, I would agree, F. Curt Schilling for that, by the way. So basically what happened is Curt Schilling went on his podcast a few days before Tim Wakefield passed away and revealed that he had brain cancer. Like, no one really knew about this until Curt Schilling went on his podcast and revealed it, and the family did not want people to know about it. The Red Sox came out and said the family didn't want anyone to know about this. It's just another example of Curt Schilling being a selfish asshole. I mean, the dude just, if you go back to some of the statements he's made on various topics in the past, I'm not going to go down a whole litany of everything Curt Schilling has ever said, but, he just, he's just not that good of a person. I mean, to do that to someone that's your friend, who is trying to, comfortably, live the last few days of their lives, and they know it's the end. They're trying to keep this private because they know if it gets out, right, like it's gonna be a huge public thing because all the fans are gonna like, oh my gosh, one of my favorite players ever, has cancer, and they didn't want that until after he passed. So, I mean, Curt Schilling he's just a disgrace, just an absolute disgrace.
I think he definitely said some troubling and controversial remarks politically, and now even in something that wasn't supposed to be revealed. It's just hard for Red Sox fans because, I was watching this week the 4 days in October, and it's the kind of thing that we deal in soccer as well. Like, we want the player in the field is sensational. Red Sox fans will always remember Game 6 in the 2004 ALCS, like one of the most heroic performances ever. But it's sad that he, unfortunately, is not as good as a person as he is as a pitcher, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, at least he belongs in the Outkick network, that's for sure. First of the
But I
seven.
still, but I still think he deserves to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. He can say insensitive stuff. He can say, but Hall of Fame is supposed to be about what you did on the field, not off the field.
Right. Like if I
That,
listen
that,
to her make the argument for Barry Bonds being in the Hall of Fame, for example,
yeah,
Yeah, ultimately you are entitled to your opinion, right? It is a First Amendment, but it still doesn't make.
yeah,
This is he didn't. It was something illegal. He just did something very immoral. I
yeah.
saw some Phillies fans saying they should take him off the Phillies Walk of Fame.
I don't know. I still think he. We can debate what the things he said. We can scrutinize him because he's a public figure. But as a baseball pitcher, the things he did as a Diamondback, as a Philly, as a Red Sox, will always be remembered. And he, again, deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. But my thoughts and prayers for the family of Tim Wakefield. Definitely, it's very sad to see him go so young, and definitely New England, people, and especially Red Sox fans will always remember him for the great things he did as a pitcher.
Yeah, Jason says he's entitled to his opinion and whatnot, but I'm entitled to my opinion that he's an entitled jagoff.
Of course, of course. That's why we love United States of America, because as a First Amendment, we have opinions that we can agree and disagree.
Exactly. Kurt Schilling, dude, you need to look in the mirror and search your soul. But I doubt he will, because he has proven on multiple occasions before that he won't. All right, but on more positive MLB news, it is now the postseason. The wild card has just wrapped up, but in a way, kind of a bust. All 4 wild card series were sweeps. The Rangers swept the Rays. The Minnesota Twins, the Twins have won playoff games. They swept the Toronto Blue Jays. The Arizona Diamondbacks have swept the Milwaukee Brewers. And the Philadelphia Phillies swept the Miami Marlins.
Can we start with the Rangers series? I watched the game tonight, and what a performance by Nathan Eovaldi. I mean, he came back, I think, kind of remind me of the 2018 Eovaldi when he was crushing as a Red Sox. And, and what a performance. And I think the Texas Rangers right now are the favorites to win the World Series because they have great pitchers. And that's why it paid off to get Eovaldi, to get Jacob deGrom, to get Scherzer. The Texas Rangers are getting paid off by be aggressive in the trading deadline and also in the free agency market.
I mean, I feel like that's just kind of throwing the Baltimore Orioles to the side. That's what Jason says. The most positive baseball news is that the White Sox season is finally over and I'm out of my misery. Although at least the good news is the White Sox aren't leaving their current city.
No, and for Jason, I guess even more positive news, the Cubs did not make the playoffs. So both the Chicago White Sox and the Chicago Cubs both gave a hug and died in regular season in 2023.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Between the 6 teams in New York, Chicago, and LA, only one made the postseason. I mean, I feel like the MLB cannot be, happy about that.
I mean, definitely. Look at the small markets that you just mentioned: Minnesota, Arizona. Only of course, they're happy the Rangers and the Phillies made it because Miami and Tampa are out, and the state of Florida is not big in terms of fandom of baseball, but definitely the Twins and the Diamondbacks are not big markets like New York and Chicago.
Well, I mean, I'll say this too: like the Rays, I understand they played both games at 3 p.m. Their attendance sucked. That was terrible. Like, look at because obviously I came on ABC, so I'd come on one of the TVs in the newsroom. And I look over there and there's no one there at Tropicana Field.
No, I was watching on my newsroom too, and I almost call my parents and say, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" Because they live, 45, 50 minutes away from Tropicana Field, and it was almost like, hey, are you guys doing anything? Do you want to go to a MLB playoff game? Because I bet there'll be still tickets be selling. I almost call my parents, be like, hey, there's a really important baseball game, 50 minutes away from where you guys live, because there was really, I bet there will be people selling tickets when the game is happening.
Yeah, it's funny though, because like I don't think we're down 7-0, and it was like the 5th or 6th inning, and they did a pan of like one of the upper decks, and there was like one guy in the entire section. I've never seen that in a playoff game in any sport. It just goes. The baseball, their playoff scheduling is just atrocious. Like the Braves on Monday will probably have to play like a 1 p.m. game on Monday, and there's no reason to do that. Like at all.
Unfortunately, baseball mentality don't have the same mentality like the NFL. That's why the NFL is on a rise and MLB is down. As much as we love baseball, we have to understand that MLB, setting those playoff times, kind of take fans away. Instead, the NFL really tries to push their games to weekends and make wild cards on Saturday night.
And I get it, right? There's a lot more baseball games that have to be played, but like at the same time, the NBA has to play a lot of playoff games, but they aren't playing playoff games at 1 p.m. on a Monday. Like you can play all 4 of these games in the evening and have them on different channels. I mean, heck, I've got on YouTube TV, you can watch them in multi-view. So like you can watch multiple games at the same time. People have multiple screens now. There's no excuse for starting a playoff game in any sport at 1 p.m. on a weekday. That's not a holiday. So it just makes zero sense, and it continues to hurt the sport. One thing I definitely want to discuss was the Brewers, because I watched a bit of, really was paying close attention to the Diamondbacks and Brewers in Game 1 yesterday, and even tonight. The Brewers just could not get people home in either game. Like even tonight in the 9th inning, they had 2 runners in scoring position at the time run at home plate, struck out. And last night, I believe there was about 2 or 3 separate occasions where they had the bases loaded and they couldn't score a single run, and that's the reason why they got swept. Like they should have taken at least one of those 2 games to force a game free tomorrow against Arizona, and just the Brewers, their clutch hitting was just non-existent in that series.
Oh, before I go, I saw Aaron Young is here, and congratulations to him. I saw he was a newlywed.
Exactly.
Congratulations to him and his wife. I hope they have a good marriage. Congratulations on your wedding.
Absolutely. That's obviously amazing to start a new life with someone. So otherwise, I didn't really see any of the Twins or Blue Jays. It's amazing for the Twins. Aaron's in the comments live from Italy.
Nice. What city? I lived in Italy for a year and a half back in 2008, 2009. Maybe I can give some tips.
Yeah, I haven't been to Italy, but I definitely want to go one day. But obviously,
back to baseball. I mean, I'm disappointed by the Brewers because they have such a young roster, but as you said, they just couldn't.
Yeah, and then the Blue Jays. I feel like the Blue Jays are like just that roster is so loaded and so uber talented, but I mean, you got swept by the winner of the worst division in baseball. I mean,
I think again, I guess it's the second year in a row that the AL Central is taking for granted.
Yeah, I mean, the Guardians last year did make it to the ALDS as well. So, it certainly is interesting. But I really do think, for the MLB, they have to be disappointed that all 4 of those series were sweeps. They wanted a game 3, winner take all, and that just wasn't the case. But in terms of biggest failure, it has to be the Rays. The Rays were the hottest team in baseball to begin the season, but they just had so much stuff happen to them this year because you had the whole Wander Franco situation. Probably never going to see him play baseball again for obvious reasons. And I just felt like their whole the whole Moneyball thing they try to do just once again blew up in their face, and it's the reason why they've never won one and why they still continue not to win a World Series.
Yeah, it's the very disappointing performance. I feel it feels like they, like especially the Blue Jays, that like they have such talent, like Bo Bichetti, such a Bo Bichetti, Vladdy Jr. They have a loaded talent, but they just can't get further into the playoffs. It's just disappointing.
Yeah, I don't know what it'll take for Toronto because I know they had the back-to-back in the early '90s. Haven't done anything since, and for the Marlins, I just don't think they really have much of a chance in Philly to begin with. Philly,
Marlins fans were hopeful because when there's always like, oh, when we won our both World Series, we went as a wild card, but I guess now the streak is over. I guess it was over in 2020, but now it's definitely over. This superstition.
oh boy, Jason. Oh, Wander Franco's going to come back and his walker will be R. Kelly. Oof. Yeah, I don't believe that one will fly. That's for sure. Okay, so we now have the 4 matchups set up here. We have Rangers, Orioles, Twins, Astros, Diamondbacks, Dodgers, and the rematch. We're looking forward to this one from the baseball perspective. The Braves and the Phillies, because the Phillies knocked out the Braves last year in 4 games on their way to the World Series. And a year where the Braves were trying to repeat. So certainly, to me, obviously, I'm excited for Braves Phillies, but which one of those series are you most excited for?
I'm excited for Orioles Rangers because both teams 2 years ago sucked, lost 100 plus games, and they're back and stronger than ever. And I think the Rangers to go to the ALCS.
I mean, I certainly could see that, but I would love to see the Orioles do. The Orioles are they're such an exciting team, and I think they're they're well managed, and I mean, in Camden Yards, when that team is rolling, that's just as good of a park as anywhere.
Oh yeah, I've been there. It feels so like the fans get so close and so historical. Definitely can be a differential.
Yeah, and, for the Astros and Dodgers, this feels like ultimate disaster potential here because both teams, I think they'll be expected to win their series. But
they're heavily favorite. For Astros and Dodgers, if both lose, I mean, there'll be questions for the manager, especially Dodgers.
Also, is it to me that the 1 seeds got harder matchups here? The 2 seeds lucked into easier matchups. Like the 1 seed, the Orioles have to play the Rangers, who I would say is a tougher opponent than the Twins, and the Braves, we have to play the Phillies. While the Dodgers get the Diamondbacks, and obviously those Twins and Diamondbacks are decent teams, but I mean the Phillies just went to the World Series. The Rangers, spent the most money this offseason. I mean, I think the ones who got kind of screwed here. Like I think, when you take a look at, well, I guess that wouldn't work because the Rangers are technically a lower seed than the Twins, but on the NL side, the Diamondbacks are the 6th seed, the Phillies are the 4th seed. I know in the NFL, if we were going by their rules, you would switch them around, and the Phillies would go to LA, and the Diamondbacks would go to Atlanta. So,
yeah, but it's MLB rules.
Yeah, I guess it's fair enough. There is actually football on tonight. They're up in Murfreesboro, Jacksonville State and MTSU. So I'm looking back at that. So, who do you think are going to the ALCS and the LCS? Let's start with ALCS.
I definitely one team I pick, as I said, is the Texas Rangers. I mean, they only gave up 1 run in 18 innings. That's impressive.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they are loaded. I think it's going to be down is gonna go to, I'll say, maybe a game 5. I think Texas Rangers and Orioles are gonna be probably one of these series. They're gonna go up to 5 games.
I'd agree with that. I am going to tend to agree with you, actually. I'm going to go Rangers in 5. I think for the Orioles, I think that when you look at the arms on the Rangers, they have more experience in the spot, and I think their star power will get them over the top. And I think they'll face the Astros. I think the Astros get it in 4. I think Minnesota will win a game, but Minnesota's kind of Cinderella run here comes to an end.
Do you know what the team now has the longest losing streak in MLB postseason?
Cleveland, maybe?
No, it's the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah.
It's the Tampa Bay Rays now, I think, with 6 losses, 6 consecutive postseason losses.
Yeah, because didn't they get swept in 20?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got swept and they lost, I think, the last 2 games of the World Series.
Yeah. Man, so that's
real
for them.
Ciao, come stai, Aaron Young? He's in Italy. Thanks for taking up the time in your honeymoon to watch our podcast. I truly appreciate. And again, congratulations on your wedding.
Absolutely, and hopefully we're not interrupting anything too important.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Yeah.
It's late.
And it's very. It's like what 4 or 5. It's like 5 a.m. It's 5 a.m. 5 o'clock in the morning. That's crazy.
Absolutely. I'm glad that the first thing you're hearing on your Thursday morning is Gustavo Tomazeli and Nick Hill.
I guess he has to caught up with the American sports, and the best way is here.
Absolutely. And of course, we started right at the end of the MLB Wildcard round. So let's pick NLCS. Who do we think is going to go? For me, I'm going to go Dodgers. I think they're going to be too much for the Diamondbacks. I'll take them in 4. And I think my Braves will get revenge in 5.
I think it's going to be a rematch, another legendary NLCS between Braves and the Dodgers, like the one they did back in 2020, back 2021. So it's going to be Dodgers in 4 and Braves in 5. So I think the ALCS, my ALCS is going to be a Texas Derby between Astros and Rangers, and my NLCS is going to be Dodgers and Braves. How about your guys? How about, if you want to see in the section comment, tell what ALCS and NLCS games you guys think is going to happen. How about you, Nick?
Yeah, I agree with you. Rangers, Astros, and Braves and Dodgers. And, Braves and Dodgers, if that happens again, that'd be, the 3rd time in 4 years. Again, NLCS between the both of them. It's certainly becoming quite the rivalry game matchup, for sure. So the Dodgers are one of those. They're growing in terms of the teams that I hate. The Dodgers has to be right up there, right with the Cardinals. And Phillies. I despise the Phillies. So, hopefully.
I guess the Phillies is because the Phillies recently is the only rival in your division, because even the Marlins, they made the playoffs this year, but you don't feel as a threat. And the Mets and the Nationals are, what?
I just pity the Mets.
Oh, yeah. I pity Stevie Cohen, not the Mets. Steve Cohen spending so much money to get us a laughable result.
Yeah. Still doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I know they replaced their manager. So at least they're trying to replace their manager. So we'll see who they get. But I don't know. It feels like some sort of organizational change is going to be needed. Also, Terry Francona from Cleveland, he resigned as well. So the Cleveland Guardians will be looking for a new manager as well. Francona obviously has had a very successful career.
Sadly, he never repeat the 2016 run that he came up so close to get the back then Indians, now Guardians, to a World Series win. He lost at home in extra innings. And after that loss, they never got back. Yeah.
So it'll be a long time before Cleveland, I think, is back in the thick of things.
And and speaking of teams in the American League that might go for change, the New York Yankees. I mean, they're hiring an independent company to look into their analytics, but they're not making any front office change, managerial change. I mean, what
But
are they doing?
they haven't fired Aaron Boone, for the tell you.
No, I don't think they're gonna fire Aaron Boone.
Why?
Because do you know why? Because the front office don't want to get uncomfortable. They're gonna say, oh, Aaron Judge got injured, and we're gonna find new players, and I think the Yankees, not even changing their man, they're gonna have to change the GM. Brian Cashman, I think he has to leave probably next year if the Yankees don't get results, because he has been in New York for like what, almost 25 years, and it comes to a point that he doesn't get any results recently. I mean, I know that the New York Yankees did not get a losing record. They had a month of September nice, but the money that they spent, they should have been in the playoffs.
I mean, when it comes to the Yankees, right? Like they can throw all this money at all these different players, but and throw money at like analytics. But like you're the Yankees, you're not supposed to be playing Moneyball. And it feels like they're almost trying to play Moneyball here, but you're the New York Yankees. Just go out, buy it, get a new manager, get a new GM, and start over. This idea that analytics are going to save the Yankees, it makes zero sense.
If you really think about it, like if you take the 2009 year out, and the Lakers, the bubble championship, and the Cowboys, I guess the three biggest brands in American sports, they're all failing. And a lot of it is because of their pride and mentality that they're gonna win no matter what, and they're behind they don't have the fresh mentality like the for example the Orioles that lost 100 plus games 2 years ago, and now they're a viable candidate for going to the World Series in a 2 year span.
Yeah, I mean the Yankees have to learn how to do a process like that, and they just don't. They don't really build up their farm system like a lot of these other teams do. Like you look at the Braves and what they've been able to do, and how they've been able to. A lot of their talent's homegrown. I mean, Yankees, they got to learn how to partially do that, but then also take advantage of the wealth you do have, to acquire some players. But I think for the Yankees, I don't know what team is more likely to turn around next year, the Yankees or the Mets from New York. Because obviously, both teams are probably going to try to spend some amount of time trying to get Shohei, I would imagine.
But Shohei's not. I think Shohei is going to stay in LA. I think the Dodgers are going to go all for it. Probably he wants to stay in the West Coast, but go to an organization that can have a chance to win a championship. Yeah. I think if the Dodgers don't get Shohei Ohtani, I'll be very surprised.
Yeah, but at least at this point, like as fan of a team that's probably not where close to the sweepstakes, I'm totally fine with it because I think at this point he's an albatross because you have to pay a lot of money for the name of Shohei Ohtani. But the fact is, considering he's probably just had a second Tommy John. I mean, I know that's not what they said in name, but that's basically implied what he had. I do believe that his value is going to diminish as just a hitter because I know he's a great hitter, but like the whole thing with Ohtani is he can hit and pitch, right? So I don't know.
I think like Shohei Ohtani is like a unicorn. It's like a rare player that we would love to see in their prime, but unfortunately his body is not going to sustain. Unfortunately, earlier this year he already shut down as a pitcher. I think it was like by July, and now he cannot even hit. he went in surgery, as you said. So as much as we want to see the full potential, and he has a lot of potential, Shohei Otani's body is not gonna sustain, and he's not gonna be like 100% healthy, unfortunately.
Yeah, and will he even be ready for spring training? Will he be ready for opening day? I don't know. And in baseball, momentum is everything. So
Definitely.
I'll say buyer beware when it comes to Shohei Otani. And it's interesting when you think about it because you have him and then the football comparison of like Travis Hunter at Colorado. Both of them are hurt right now. So it's a big demand to play at multiple positions.
Especially in the modern sports right now, both baseball and football. It's not like in the 80s that probably gave a lot of room for like a player, for example, even Bo Jackson, that even played two sports. Like, think about it. How impossible in this modern age to a Bo Jackson kind of, play two sports?
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to do it. They would not let you do it because of just how much money is involved.
And not only how much money is involved, but how much the sport has evolved, both baseball and football.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, you have to have completely different bodies and a completely different skill set to succeed at both. So, I just don't think you're going to see much of that moving forward. Speaking of big time athletes, though, there was a Woj bomb a couple of days ago. Damian Lillard to Milwaukee to pair with Giannis Antetokounmpo. Um, the biggest move of the offseason, I would say, in the NBA. Damian Lillard, he's been in Portland his entire career. He has made, I believe, was it one or two Western Conference Finals, but has never made the NBA Finals. Is this now Lillard's time to finally win the NBA Finals with a guy in Giannis that has won an NBA Finals?
That reminds me when Shaq went to LA. Kobe was already dominating, but he needed a two. I think it's going to be kind of like Kobe and Shaq.
Well, okay. Well, Shaq was the one. Like Kobe at that point, he hadn't won a title yet, and Kobe was still kind of developing into a superstar. I would argue that, yes, Kobe was Shaq's wingman, and Kobe didn't really become a superstar until after Shaq left. At least in my personal view.
No. I guess that's a good point. I'm just trying to figure out a way to compare, but because this move, a lot of it was because Giannis signed an extension with the Bucks. So the Bucks right now have to go all in. They have to get the championships now because the way they signed the extension with the Giannis, so they needed to get number 2 for him to get the championship right now because after probably the contract, the Milwaukee Bucks are definitely going to go for a rebuild. So it's now or never. It's like, I guess a better comparison is like when Miami got LeBron. I know definitely LeBron was bigger than D Wade, but D Wade needed a guy to get him another championship because D Wade, if you think about it, D Wade got the championship before LeBron did. So, I guess now is a
situation because like LeBron never got the help he needed in Cleveland. Just like Damian Lillard.
Like Lillard.
Help got in Portland. But we do have to ask, because in that case, LeBron definitely brought a ton of Miami. Like LeBron unquestionably is better than Wade. Is Lillard unquestionably better than Giannis? I don't think the answer is yes. I think Giannis arguably is still like a top 2, top 3 player. Now, last year was a disaster for Milwaukee in the playoffs, right? Because they ran into the Miami Heat, who had all those guards that could shoot a bunch of threes, in addition to Jimmy Butler. They really were able to sprout the Bucks and were able to expose them. And you would hope, at least if you're the Milwaukee Bucks, that having a Damian Lillard can help with that. Because, like, if you look at his free-point percentage, his career free-point percentage is 37%. That's really good. He had 37.1% last year. His career high is 40.1%. His effective, I think we lost Gus there. briefly, I'll keep on talking here about Damian Lillard a little bit. His effective field goal percentage, which takes into account that a 3-point is worth more than a 2-pointer, it was over 500. It was 56.4%. So, you know, his effectiveness is off the charts. And he was still effective when you look at the numbers without a true win. I mean, he was at his best, honestly, in Portland when he had CJ McCollum on his side. Because CJ McCollum is, I think, a very underrated guard in the league. But Damian Lillard, is truly one of the stars for a reason. And I think having Giannis will take off a ton of the pressure. But I still think, it's going to take more than Damian, right? What guards should they surround them with? Because when Giannis draws so much attention, and having Damian Lillard will help with that. Are you going to have other guys around him that can shoot? And this even goes back to LeBron and the way teams. You can have guys if you have surrounding guards that can dominate, the other surrounding guards and these other superstar teams, then you have a chance to win a championship. Because that's what the Bucks were not able to do last year. And at least having Damian Lillard gives you a superstar guard, but not every guard you have is going to be a superstar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, and Damian Lillard probably is a perfect guy to start because Giannis, he's not like a ball-centric. He's not like a ego kind of star. So I think they're going to fit in well. I'm happy for Damian Lillard. He's going to have the shot at least to have a chance to get a title because in Portland, definitely was not going to happen. He was going to end up like, like a player. I forgot the top of my mind, but so many players that stay loyal to an NBA franchise that never came close to winning a championship.
Yeah, I mean, I think of, at least in that vein, because there's not many players that stayed at one place their entire time, right? I mean, I think of like a Dominique Wilkins, maybe. Steve Nash was mostly in Phoenix, but I know he moved around a bit at the end. Totally not criminal Karl Malone with the Utah Jazz, and Stockton as well. So, there's some of the names going to my mind. Damian Lillard will have a chance, but I mean, it's going to be competitive, right? The Miami Heat still in the East. You got the Celtics, so I think I feel like the Celtics got to get it done this year, or otherwise they're about to completely implode. Same goes for Philadelphia. I mean, I know the Harden is in Colorado getting ready for the Sixers training camp. They just got Drew Holiday. I'll be curious to see how much he can help the Sixers, but it just feels like the Sixers are like cursed a little bit, I mean, Drew Holiday, yes, averaged 19.3 points per game last year, but I feel like you're going to need more than that.
I think the East definitely is between Celtics and the Bucks. I think the West is wide open. I mean, even though the Denver is the current champion, I don't see them being heavily favored against the Golden State Warriors or even the Lakers. I mean, of course, the Lakers is going to be heavily dependent on Anthony Davis.
Yeah, I think the Warriors, they're on the downslope at this point. I think they've won their last title. I'll go on record and say that now. I think, honestly, if any teams to front, obviously, as you mentioned, if the Lakers can get younger, maybe them, but I doubt it for them as well. Just looking around, the Mavericks, if they can fix their roster, I mean, they should, in theory, have a talent. If Zion Williamson can stay healthy for an entire year, what can the New Orleans Pelicans do? It's just, and obviously Memphis. If John Morant's going to have to serve a 25-game suspension this year, but hey, he should be back in time for the playoffs. If he can keep his hands off guns, and he's healthy.
Yeah, like John Morant has to realize his hands are made for holding a basketball, not a gun.
Exactly. Exactly, because it just, I don't want to see him throw away his entire career.
Also, how about the Knicks? The Knicks are young. They have good talent. The Knicks and the Cleveland Cavaliers are both teams who, are a little. They're not there yet, but they're very close to be a title contender.
I don't know. I still have to see more about the Knicks. I mean, I know they had a really good season last year, but the thing with the Knicks is they haven't been consistent on a yearly basis.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, the Knicks have to find not a star, but a veteran player because the Knicks are young, but they're missing that one player.
Yeah. Also, too, I think another team to watch out for, um, the Timberwolves, I think, are interesting. Because they're a team that just seems like they always have just fallen apart in the postseason the past couple of years. I remember that series they had against Memphis 2 years ago, where they blew like 20+ point leads numerous times. And it feels like with them having Anthony Edwards and having Carl Anthony Towns, that team should be really competitive, but can they actually finish out a series? And the Phoenix Suns, I mean, look at the last 2 years, getting eliminated at home in blowout losses. But they have KD. You still have Devin Booker. They got they just have a lot of talent on that team. Obviously they lost Chris Paul to the Warriors, so we'll see how that helps out Golden State. But that's obviously only a couple weeks away, and that's the thing about the NBA. Their season is so long that we're already back at it. Like the Vols basketball team, they had their team photos yesterday. So college basketball is almost back as well, and I can't wait to see whether or not the Vols basketball team makes the second round or the Sweet 16 again. But hey, maybe I'm being
There was even a press conference today from Rick Barnes. He was talking about first they're gonna have a Tennessee Michigan State game in East Landing, and the game proceedings is gonna be all for the Hawaii Fires. I thought was a great thing. I mean, it's a great matchup. Ton Izzo versus Rick Barnes. I mean, true coach legends, and I'm excited for this team. But again, there's even you said about long season for the NBA. College basketball was kind of long, but we all wanted to see what the Vols can do in March.
Right. And what's interesting is sticking on that real quick. The Tennessee-Wisconsin game, the second game of the year, the first really big game for the Vols on the road, it's going to be streaming exclusively on Peacock. And that was just released today. There's going to be a lot of games streamed on Peacock, including like Indiana-Purdue, a huge rivalry game. Will be streaming only on Peacock. So college basketball really driving headfirst into the streaming era. I will be curious to see if that helps the sport or hurts the sport, because it feels like the regular season has taken a nosedive in popularity the past couple of years because, obviously, one, there's just a huge emphasis on March, but two, then with the one and done, just the amount of stars to watch are just not there.
I think what the streaming is going to do is to make a niche college basketball regular season. Like, only the true diehard fans are going to be wanting to watch. The common fan is going to just wait for March.
Oh, absolutely. Of course, I'll watch my basketballs, but outside of them, I don't know how much college basketball I will really sit down and watch because it's just such a crapshoot. You don't learn anything that you just don't learn anything through the regular season. As we transition to college football, I do want to mention this MGSU game. So they were leading 23-7 at halftime. They've been outscored by Jacksonville State at home in Murfreesboro, 31-0 in the second half, and are now losing 38-23. So
wow,
the Blue Raiders here in the second half. But anyway,
and I guess there's life after all after Dion leaves your team.
No, Jacksonville State is the game.
Oh, I
Now,
understood. I thought it was Jackson State. The way you said it was like Jackson State.
yeah, it's kind
But
of weird because there's a Jacksonville State in Alabama. It's not too far from Chattanooga. Actually, about an hour and a half, 2 hours.
it's not Jacksonville, Florida. Wow.
There's a Jacksonville, Alabama. It's a small town.
Oh, it's like the Miami, Ohio University. It's not in
That's
Miami, Florida. It's in
near
Miami, Ohio.
Georgia border. If you've ever if you've ever driven between Chattanooga and Birmingham, you go by that town Gadsden. It's very close.
Oh,
It's in that area. Um,
and they won an impressive game. I think it was like against Florida State a couple of years ago, if I'm not mistaken.
they've always been pretty good. Back in the day, they actually used to be pretty big rivals of UTC at the Mocs. So they don't really play much anymore, but those used to be some pretty big games back in the day because of the
But
proximity.
now they are a FBS team. They used to be on FCS.
Yeah, and they're coached by Rich Rodriguez. So
Wow, wow. Well, I mean, like watching the SEC shorts, thinking about that, Rich Rodriguez was going to be the coach of Alabama instead of Nick Saban.
yeah, I don't think that would have worked out quite the same way, seeing how Rich Rod just went down in flames.
Yeah,
Instead of West Virginia, because that was just a magical fit.
yeah, and also he probably still think about the West Virginia Pitt game. Probably when he's really alone in his room, he thinks about that game and how that game changed his legacy in the sport.
Oh, absolutely. But hey, shout out West Virginia though. They are 4-1 this year. A lot of people did not have them doing that well after the first 5 games. So shout out WVU and Neil Brown, head coach, saving his job. Also 4-1 are the Tennessee Volunteers. They got their revenge in the South Carolina Gamecocks, 41-20. As someone who was in Columbia last year for that disastrous 63-38 loss, a loss that derailed any hopes we had at the playoffs. It felt good watching Tennessee.
First of all, you have to explain what is this new super. This game was like a Super Bowl kind of trend I've been seeing on Twitter.
Okay, so basically, Spencer Radler in his post-game press conference was like, he basically sarcastically said, "Congratulations to Tennessee for winning their Super Bowl." Because basically, obviously people were really hyped up for this game because people were mad about what happened last year. They were mad that Hinton Hooker got hurt in that game, and basically he was trying to downplay the win. Whatever, it's just you're just trash talking. But the South Carolina fans really are running with it, saying, "Oh, Tennessee shouldn't be celebrating this win. We're 2-3." But I'm like, no, you guys run and you talk trash about our entire program. Shane Beamer talks trash about Tennessee any chance he gets. I mean, I know they're 2-3, but yeah, I'm going to celebrate the win because South Carolina's just annoying. They're an annoying program, and that's all they really are. I mean, as someone once described them, they have an Alabama mouth with a Vanderbilt trophy case. They have never won anything significant. Their last conference championship was in 1969. They have never won the SEC. They've only been to one SEC title. Their program, frankly, has been terrible for the majority of it. And they want to act like they're elite, but they're not. And yes, you're upset against us in 2022, and you'll be able to hold on to that forever and ever that you won that game. But for the vast majority of our time together, Tennessee has dominated South Carolina.
That's why I know it always good to beat a rival, especially what happened last year. But revenge, I don't know, because it's not like South Carolina was en route to fight for a national championship. As you said, they're 2-3, so still doesn't feel like a true revenge for me, at least.
Well, no, and I doubt Tennessee will be anywhere close to making the playoffs this year. I mean, it's kind of like the way it feels, like the beginning of Endgame, Avengers Endgame, right? Thanos has snapped the entire universe out of or half of the universe out of existence in Infinity War, and then in the first 20 minutes of Endgame, they go and kill Thanos. So, but half of our people are still not here, and then they have to go for the whole Endgame to actually undo the whole snap. spoilers for anyone that hasn't seen that, but I'm assuming everyone has seen that movie. To me, that's what it feels like. Thanos. So Shane Beamer snapped our playoff chances last year, and you can't really get that back. That was last year's playoff chances, and we'll have to really run for a gauntlet here to get anywhere close to that again. But still, I mean, I at least saw a lot of encouraging things. I mean, our defense in this game, awesome, especially the front seven. James Pierce is a top 5 player on this team, and I think could be arguably a top 5 defensive end in the entire league of the SEC. He was amazing defensive player of the week for the SEC. They sacked Rattler, I believe it was 6 times on Saturday night. Running game, we ran for well over 200 yards. All 3 of our running backs this year are averaging over 6 yards a carry. I mean, just very impressive. We are a running team and a defensive team. Definitely a little bit different formula than last year. Joe Milton was up and down. He did throw 2 interceptions in this game. Now, he did throw a touchdown as well, but not the greatest performance. And obviously, a devastating injury to Brew McCoy out for the year. Just awful to see him because he has done a lot for this team since coming in last year. Obviously, had a huge catch at the end of the Alabama game. Has had several other big catches in key moments. Hopefully, that wasn't it for him in a UT uniform, but if it was, hopefully he knows how much we appreciate him as a fan base because he has been fun to root for, and obviously, as the whole stadium kind of in unison chanted, "Brew."
I like that, brew.
Yeah, so but it definitely sucks to see it. But we're at the bye week now, and I'm just kind of curious. After 5 games, we're 4-1. I kind of thought it'd be 5-0 at this point, right? The Florida game still really stings, especially after what happened to them this past week. But now, especially now you have Brew hurt, you just got to continue getting the passing game more up to speed, or at least figure out what are your limitations as a passing game.
I still think Tennessee is gonna go 8-4. I believe they're gonna go to the bowl game in Tampa Bay for my happiness. It's not that I want. Me and you root for Tennessee to go to the national championship, but I don't think the team is there this year. So if I want to see them postseason, at least be close to where I'll be.
Yeah, I mean, I think 8-4 is a very real possibility. I think 8-4, 9-3 right now is the most likely outcome. The next 3 games are going to be very tough. I mean, A&M at home next week, at Bama, at Kentucky. I think if they can go 2-1 in that, I would be ecstatic. I'd be very happy. 1-2 is very possible, though, because I mean, those are just 3 really good teams. And there's a lot of people for next week's game against Texas A&M, and we'll talk way more about that game next week, since it is our bye week. But should we check or kneel in? I don't know about Texas A&M. I would prefer to do it for like Georgia personally, because that's like the number 1 team in the country, the 2-time defending national title.
I think what is kind of thrown in, like, I think what the Tennessee Athletics thinks is that they want to do checker Nila with a team that can match up. Because let's be real, Georgia, if only if a miracle happens. I mean, Georgia's going to win it. Let's be real. Georgia's going to be.
Well, I'd call it a miracle. I mean, and I was going to touch on this here next. I mean, Georgia, they could have lost to Auburn the other day. I mean, and Auburn couldn't throw the football like at all, but they ran the ball for over 200 yards against Auburn. And if it weren't for Brock Bowers being incredible, being, I think, the best player in college football, frankly, he was bailing Carson Beck out in some of those throws. I don't know if Georgia wins that game. Georgia's not the unbeatable beast they were the past 2 years. Now, they still will be favored. I would still pick them to beat Tennessee. But I don't think they're so much better than Tennessee that they're unbeatable.
Yeah, maybe I'm being pessimistic. Maybe
there's a chance. Georgia fans are not happy with Mike Bobo. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think there's a clear reason because they didn't like him the first time he was there, and now he's back, and it's just off. I mean, is it possible Stetson Bennett was the secret sauce?
Yeah.
I mean, I think really honestly more is Todd Monken, who's now with the Ravens. He was a great offensive coordinator for Georgia. I mean, they went 29-1 the 2 seasons he was there. So, but his quarterback was Stetson Bennett, and I think that also counts for something. Like Stetson Bennett was never the greatest athlete, but he kind of knew where the ball should go.
Speaking of him, literally today he was placed in a non-football injury list because of a shoulder issue. Because he is a backup quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams, but he is in IL.
Yeah, so far his post-Georgia life hasn't been the smoothest.
But, I mean, it wasn't surprised that he was going to be probably in a really backup spot, But I still think he can be a viable quarterback. Look at Brock
Stops. I mean, just continue to fight, and hey, maybe you get your shot at some point.
Yeah, so I still think Stetson Bennett is going to find his place in the NFL, but definitely Georgia fans is definitely missing Stetson Bennett. It's not like he was the secret sauce. It's just maybe he was taken for granted in terms of how efficient he was.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something I overlooked. Because I looked at him and he's 5'9". He doesn't throw the ball 50 yards downfield. I've talked so much crap about Stetson Bennett on this show and on many sports shows because I just didn't think he was good enough to win national titles. And clearly I was wrong. He won 2 of them. And really, I mean, and 2, he really won an Ohio State game for Georgia as well. So, I really have nothing I can really trash the guy about anymore because, I mean, he did everything that I said he couldn't do. So it just kind of is what it is. It'll be interesting to see if Carson Beck can follow that up. So, but now they got a huge game to win against Kentucky, who themselves blew out Florida. And obviously, seeing that result early Saturday morning was very discouraging on multiple reasons as a Vol. I mean, obviously, getting blown up by Florida ourselves, never a good sign when you get blown up by a team that gets blown up by Kentucky. But Kentucky, I just think is really good. I mean, Ray Davis, over 200 yards rushing. I mean, just insane. And also, on the other hand, it makes me furious because why do we not use Dylan Sampson in the swamp? Why did we not commit to the run in the swamp? But I will say this. In Heupel's and Joey Hazel's defense, we didn't have Cooper Mays. And I do think having our center back was a huge difference this past week with the running game. So it's crazy how much one lineman can switch things. But I think that was clearly the case with the Vols. But Kentucky, they definitely seemed very balanced, especially the fact they are such a heavy running team. But I still don't know if Kentucky really can compete with Georgia. I don't know if their play style really will allow them to do the things they need to do to beat UGA. But I will say this, I think they are a big threat for the Vols, especially considering that they get a bye week before they play us, and we have to go to Tuscaloosa the week before. So it's just not a good spot on the schedule for Tennessee. So I wouldn't be shocked if they beat us.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
and they're going to want revenge for last year, I think. I mean, Harrison Nealon, they're going to want revenge for that. Real quick, some other stuff. Ole Miss, shout out to Lane Kiffin. I mean, that might be his biggest win at Ole Miss, taking out LSU. And just a shootout, 55-49, just up and down, up and down, up and down.
LSU, it seems like every LSU game is going to be down the wire.
I mean, or they just get blown out. I mean, LSU now, they've given up 45 to Florida State and now 55 to Ole Miss. Why does LSU not have a defense? Well, all the talent they have no defense. I mean, Brian Kelly is going to have to figure that out. Otherwise, he isn't going to be in Baton Rouge for more than a couple more years. I mean, this isn't Notre Dame.
Yeah, like Tiger fans are not as patient as Irish fans.
No.
If definitely not. And and this was supposed to be the year that LSU was going to be fighting for the Natty, and they're clearly not.
Yeah, I mean they're done, and they had 2 losses by the end of September. Just yeah, it's unbelievable just how much of a failure LSU has been this year. Like the 2 games that they truly were competitive, and like they could be 1-3. Like remember, they could have lost to Arkansas.
Oh, for sure. That game should have been Arkansas's game.
So I mean LSU just a big yikes for them. I mean their defense is clearly way worse than Tennessee's, and I think if they had to play again, Tennessee would beat them again. Um, Speaking of Brian Kelly's former team, Notre Dame beat Duke in the final minute. Notre Dame lost the week before to Ohio State in the final minute. They won a game in the final minute. Shout out to Sam Hartman. Really sucks for Riley Leonard that he got hurt. I don't know how long he's going to be out for the Dukies. But I mean, Duke's a legitimately good football team, especially on defense. They have a great defense. I'll be curious to see if they can keep Mike Elko as head coach, but I feel like he's going to be a very popular man for a new job.
Yeah, like I think right now we can say that the Duke's football team kind of matches up with the Duke's basketball team.
I would agree with that. I think, obviously John Shire has a lot of work to do to get their basketball program to where it used to be for many years. In Notre Dame, they play, I believe it's USC next week. So they have another huge game. And Notre Dame, they still have a chance. If they can win out, they will certainly make the playoff if they win out because they got several big games left, but they can't afford to lose another game themselves, especially as
because their loss is a quality loss because they lost in the last minute to Ohio State, which is the top 14.
Yeah. And USC is another team that's going to be of high quality. But I'll say this, USC, they got a bit lucky on Saturday. I mean, they were up 34-7, but almost blew that entire lead. I mean, Shedeur Sanders in Colorado ripped them apart in the second half. Caleb Williams for 6 touchdowns, but that's not the story here. Once again, Lincoln Riley and Alex Grinch don't know how to coach defense. And I think Lincoln Riley has to, at some point, cut off Alex Grinch, is what's going to have to happen because this guy doesn't know what he's doing. And USC is going to lose at least one game and maybe more with that defense. I don't know if they're going to win at Notre Dame next week. They could lose to Oregon.
It's like Lincoln Riley has to coach his butt off in office to compensate for the lack of coaching defense.
Yeah, I mean, and USC has athletes that should have their defense playing a lot better than it is. Because some people are trying to make the argument that Josh Heupel was another Lincoln Riley that didn't care about defense, but that hasn't been the case this year. I mean, our front seven's getting after it. They look really good, especially this past weekend. And I think on defense, we're trying to make an effort to be better there. USC, it just doesn't feel like they are making that effort to be better there. So, but also, I mean, that's also a shout out to Colorado at least for continuing to fight, and it shows that Coach Prime is that team definitely believes. And I still think they have a path though to a bowl game, and they got to win 3 more games to get there. This week they go to Arizona State, and that's a team that they will have to beat. I think it's Arizona State and Stanford the next 2 weeks they have. They can win both of those games. That'd get them to 5-2. And hey, I think by that point you have Travis Hunter back. You can win a game or 2 more.
Yeah, I think Colorado is definitely going to make a bowl game, and definitely wasn't too much hype, especially the teams they play in their first 2 games. TCU definitely a different team from last year. And Nebraska, Matt Rule has a lot of work to do, but it's not as bad as people were saying especially after the Oregon game. I think they're going to make a good bowl game. I think they're going to go 7-5.
Yeah, and that's a huge success considering that I expect them to go like 3-9 in the preseason. So huge. Also, the craziest game of the week to me UCF, they blew a 35-7 lead to Baylor, lost 36-35. They were up 35-10 at the start of the fourth quarter. And despite a miraculous 4th and 16, that's one of the craziest plays in the history of football. I think Gus Malzahn has lost the fan base in Orlando. He could be in danger of getting fired again. A second.
Yeah, I guess he couldn't repeat his success in Auburn.
No. Because that was bad. Baylor is not good this year. But blowing a 25-point lead in the last quarter is just yikes. Horrible for the Golden Knights. All righty. So, time for week 6. First and foremost, underrated games, upset alerts for this week.
In terms of upset, you go first. Upset alert.
Yeah, I mean, when you take a look at the schedule this week, I think one for me, UCLA over Washington State. I think that's one because Washington State has actually had a really good start to the season, but I'm just not 100% convinced that that they're as good. People are trying to make the argument that Cameron Ward's a Heisman contender.
How about Wake Forest beating Clemson at Tiger Stadium? Does that count at upset alert?
I definitely think it does. I guess it could happen. Now, Clemson did look a little better last week. But I guess it could happen. So that's certainly a good pick. In terms of an underrated game, 24th ranked Fresno at Wyoming. Both of those are really good team. Wyoming upset Texas Tech. Fresno State upset Purdue. And actually, they're getting prime time on Fox for the Mountain West Conference. So great for the Mountain West Conference. Maybe, a game like that makes them more attractive to an Oregon State and Washington State down the road.
Underrated game. How about Notre Dame going to Louisville, Kentucky? I think that's an underrated game because, as we both said, Notre Dame has to win out to get to the playoffs, but Louisville is still, I believe, is undefeated.
Yeah, and also, too, in terms of potential upset as well, watch out for Marshall at North Carolina State. North Carolina State's offense is atrocious. They are horrific. And Marshall's already upset one ACC team this year and Virginia Tech. So that's something that could be interesting. Also, Western Michigan and Miss State. Miss State, I think, is also just awful as well. I wouldn't be shocked if Western Michigan pulled off an upset in Starkville.
How about this? I know I'm going too far, but how about William and Mary going to Charlotte, Virginia to play the Cavaliers? How big of an upset?
I'm pretty sure
this
they
will be
won it last year, if I'm not mistaken. If I remember correctly, William and Mary won in Virginia last year, or that might have. Well, let me check because that might have been Richmond. Let's see, because I want to say they won. Well, an FCS team beat Virginia in Virginia last year.
Yeah, I'm checking right now. Let me check.
Richmond last year. There was a
no. William and Mary did not play Virginia last year.
Yeah, okay, they played Richmond, but I swear that they played at some point in the past couple of years, and there was an upset.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might have been.
But Virginia is 0-5, and William and Mary is 4-1. I mean, the matchup predictor gives Virginia 85% win, but I don't know. I mean, this also be my upset alert. Imagine
if this happens. God, who's their? Why am I blanking on their coach's name? I'm one.
Tom Elliott, I believe. I think it's Tony Elliott.
Tony Elliott. He needs to be fired immediately.
like I've been to William and Mary campus. They're really small. Their stadium is really small. It's a very historic city. I remember I my ex girlfriend wanted to go there as a college, but I mean, it probably is the one of the biggest games in William and Mary history because Virginia had not won a game yet, so they have a chance to win.
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't know.
Minions already. No, James Madison. James Madison won at UVA earlier.
Yeah,
So
and that game made a push for James Madison path to FBS. I'm not saying William and Mary is going to go to the FBS, but imagine how big of an upset this will be.
yeah, I think that's a great pick. Well, Virginia, they find unique ways to lose. I mean, they're one of their most recent games. Well, they've had two recent games. In NC State, they lost by a field goal and just lost it in the stupidest way possible. Boston College last week had every chance to win that game, couldn't do it. So yeah, UVA is just allergic to winning football games.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, okay, so we have some picks here. Maryland, undefeated Maryland, with Tualia Tagovailoa going to the Horseshoe to take on Ohio State. Any chance the Terrapins pull off the upset?
I think they're gonna play close as they did last season, but give me Ohio State.
I agree. They'll take Ohio State. I think the line's 20, so I don't know what way I lean on that.
I'll bet the under. I'll bet the under if I
Okay.
have to bet. The line is 20, right?
Yes. So you bet on Maryland to cover.
I'll bet Miller to cover, and I think it's going to be a 17-point difference.
Okay. Notre Dame at Louisville. As bad as I want to pick the Cardinals for Jason Wyrick, I do have to take the Fighting Irish because I think Louisville. I know they're 5-0, but they really haven't looked smooth in those 5 games. I mean, like the game last week against NC State was very ugly. But hey, you win any way you can take it. But I think they will have to play by far their best offensive game of the year to beat Notre Dame.
For me, give me Louisville by a field goal. I believe the game is at Cardinal Stadium.
Yes.
I think if Louisville wins this game, they might be looking to a chance to fight for a playoff because they're going to be undefeated and with a top 10 win.
Well, for Louisville, their schedule this year is they don't have outside of Notre Dame. They don't have. Okay, so Louisville's remaining schedule. You have Notre Dame. You're at Pittsburgh. They do have Duke in a couple of weeks, and they do go to Miami, and they have Kentucky. So 4 of their final 6 games are top 25 teams. They haven't had one top 25 team yet this season.
Which is Notre Dame right now.
Yeah. So if Louisville can go on a run, sure, they can catapult their way. And plus, you have to remember they would also get a chance to play like a Florida State in the ACC title game. So yeah, if you go on a run and win all those games, sure, you can be in the playoff. But I don't see that happening.
Like how much the committee is going to take that into consideration, what you just mentioned, the strength of schedule.
Yeah, I mean that will be huge. But obviously their strength of schedule in the second half will be among the toughest in the country. Another interesting one here in Columbia, Missouri, LSU reeling 2-2 going to Columbia.
Oh yeah, I mean Missouri fans probably are the most exciting. I probably in this since 2007. Probably when beating Kansas State, kind of like a close proximity rival. They're, as they like to point out multiple times, they're one of the only SEC teams that are undefeated, and they like to really point that out.
Yeah, well, they won't be undefeated this week. I think LSU wins. I think LSU wins big. I think
Give me the Tigers. I think Missouri keeps undefeated.
Yeah, well, they're both Tigers, so it's the Missouri.
Give
Tigers.
me the the Missouri Tigers.
Yes. Because we have like what 4 Tigers in this league. There's too many Tiger teams.
Yeah, yeah, and I like Tigers, especially the ones from Americana. So I
Exactly.
like Tigers versus Tigers.
I like. All right, so we got Nick Saban versus Jimbo.
Oh,
This feels like a game Jimbo has to have.
if Jimbo gets this win, no matter what happens to the rest of the season, his job is safe. That's the game he has to win.
Yes. And
Because,
I don't think
I
they will.
mean, I think they're going to. Kyle Field is kind of a hostile environment for the Crimson Tide. And so far, they only lost to the Hurricanes, and it was much because of the second half bad performance. They got good wins over Auburn and Arkansas. I don't know. Give
I think
me
it's going to be a really
A&M.
But I will say this. I think Bama's defense is the best unit in this game. I think they will make enough plays. And Texas A&M, Connor Wegman's hurt. They're playing with their backup quarterback. I think it's going to be an ugly, low-scoring game, but Bama will do enough to get out of College Station with a win. So I think that's the factor for A&M. We'll see if Bobby Petrino can scheme around that. Kentucky, Georgia.
Oh, give me Georgia. Kentucky probably is going to give, like last year, throw in the first half, but give me the Bulldogs.
I agree. Give me UGA by about 2 touchdowns at least. All right, and the game of the week, the Red River Shootout. I don't know if that's even technically PC and correct anymore, but that's what I'm going to call it. The Red River Shootout. Texas, Oklahoma. The SEC's biggest game of the week this week. Wink, wink. Well, by this time next year, it will be the biggest game in the SEC. But technically not. But it might as well be an SEC game in Dallas, in the Cotton Bowl. Who will, obviously Texas won this game last year 49-0. Can OU get revenge?
First of all, I've been to the Cotton Bowl, and that stadium lives for this game. That's why probably the owners of the Cotton Bowl forced Texas and Oklahoma to go to the same conference, because that stadium lives and breathes that Red River Shootout. All the stadium decorations, spirit is for this game. And give me the Longhorns. I think Stark is coaching really well, and Quinn Ewers, great performance. Give me the Longhorns.
I agree, because they did not look ahead. I mean, they had a top 25 Kansas team at home last week. They blew them out. Oklahoma honestly hasn't really played anyone that good yet. The best defense they played was Cincinnati, and they only scored 20 there. Although I think OU is much improved from last year, they're not Texas. I think Texas will win this game, but they won't get 49-0 again. I think it'll be a much better game this time around.
But I'll say this. I mean, I don't remember if the Cotton Bowl has lights or not, but this game should have been a night game. It would have felt much bigger.
Yeah, they always play this thing at noon or 3:30. I can't recall it ever being a night game, but I think that's just a tradition thing. But
and I get the tradition; it's fair. But would you agree with me that game would have been so much bigger if it was a night game?
Oh yeah, for sure. It'd be awesome. But hey, it's gonna be an awesome game no matter what. Texas OU, and honestly, it may not be the only time we see that game this year, because I think both teams easily could be in the Big 12 title game. All right, over to some NFL real quick, and I will say I was completely shocked with what happened with my Tennessee Titans. Not only winning, but blowing out Cincinnati 27-3. Everyone is tied at 2-2 in the AFC South. The Rams beat the Colts in overtime. Jaguars beat the Falcons, and the Texans. The Houston Texans blew out the Pittsburgh Steelers. So everyone's 2-2. The interesting pattern developing. The Titans look really good at home, but are horrible on the road. And you have to wonder which one is more likely to give way. Because I feel like you're not going to keep it up all year where they're just amazing at home and they're just awful on the road.
Yeah, this like the Titans are a tiger at home and a kitty on the road.
Yeah. So we'll see if they can figure out a way to um, not be just abjectly awful on the road, because your team's going to have to travel on the road. Your offense is going to have to travel, and this week they go on the road to Indianapolis. So you know if history serves you correctly, Ryan Tannehill will not show up for that game. But I think the bigger headlines here is Cincinnati. 1-3. Burrow he's just not himself. You can tell the injury is bothering him. And Jamar Chase actually kind of ranted about Joe Burrow in the postgame. He said, "I'm open. I'm always effing open," and he just said that verbatim.
Yeah, I saw that. Like he said, he even apologized for cursing.
I mean, yeah, I think Cincinnati this season is done. I think they need to sit Burrow for a little bit, let him get healthy, and just this season's a lost season.
Yeah, like it's disappointing because we thought that the AFC was going to be dominated by the Bengals and the Chiefs and the Bills, but looks like Cincinnati. I mean, their O line being weak was going to caught up to Joe Burrow.
Yeah, and honestly, it's not even just the offense. I mean, their defense didn't play any good. I mean, they let Derrick Henry run wild on them. I felt like I was watching the 2018 Titans out there. With how effective our offense was. I didn't know the Titans' offense could still be that effective. And my suspicion is it's really not as effective as it looked in that game. It just happened. That's about the best version of the Titans' offense I think you're going to see this year. So, yeah, obviously, I was happy with the win. Obviously, very pleased. Obviously, there's a little bit of kind of like the Carolina game, a smaller revenge factor there, right? Because Cincinnati ended the Titans' championship window in 2022. But still, I mean, kind of like South Carolina, it's a minuscule revenge. It's not a full-on revenge.
Yeah,
Beating them in the playoffs. So,
yeah, great comparison.
yeah. But anyway, and some other interesting scores. The Bears, just an absolute disaster. How do you blow a 28-7 lead to Denver? Denver. They couldn't score at all in the second half on Denver. They had let up 98 points in the previous six
No,
quarters.
and one of the last drives, I mean, they were like fourth and one, and they preferred to kick instead of go for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's loser coaching. It's loser mentality coaching. And
And I feel bad for Justin Fields.
yeah, because I mean, he looked great in the first half, had a great fantasy day, but man, he isn't winning football games. And at some point, as a franchise quarterback, you got to win football games. And really, like when you look at Burrow, you look at Justin Fields, you look at Mac Jones getting benched in Dallas. Of course, Trey Lance, obviously is a backup right now in Dallas, and Zach Wilson he's trying in New York. And honestly, he didn't play awful, I thought, on Sunday, but the 2020 QB class this season is a disaster.
No, that's true. I mean, great point. Because Mac Jones, I think his time in New England is going to be done.
Yes.
Terrible performance. He was eat up by the Dallas defense. Of course, Dallas has one of the best defense in the league. But, I don't see any confidence on their coaching staff on Mac Jones.
No, I mean, Bill Belichick, and you got to wonder at this point, with the Patriots being so bad, is Bill Belichick on? Is his time starting to dry up a little bit, When are they going to be done with him?
That's what probably a lot of the New England fans are asking. Like, hey, Bill, we wanted to honor you because you brought up so much joy and multiple Super Bowl rings. But as long as you keep coaching this team, we have to question you and hate you because this team is bad.
Yeah.
Like the Patriots fans are like, hey, Bill, can you retire so we can remember you for all the good things you did?
Yeah, and I think at some point, I think that needs to happen sooner rather than later for the Patriots. So, we'll see when that happens, but I think the best days of Belichick are behind him. And speaking of just these 2020 class, I do want to break up the Jets because they lost to Taylor Swift. I don't know if you knew this or not, Gus, but the Jets played Taylor Swift on Sunday night.
Oh,
Or
really? They did?
yeah, well, at least that's what NBC told me. I mean, NBC they showed Taylor Swift during the Sunday Night Football broadcast 17 times.
do, do you know who's the angriest with all the attention Taylor Swift gets?
Ooh.
Patrick Mahomes' sister, Brittany Mahomes.
Well, wife. That's his wife, Brittany Mahomes.
Oh, wife.
And
Yeah, wife.
you're probably thinking of Jackson Mahomes' brother.
Yeah, no, but yeah, Patrick Mahomes' wife. Probably she's the angriest with all the Taylor Swift attention because she was the darling of the Chiefs fans, and now it's Taylor Swift.
Oh yeah, yeah, and exactly. Brittany Mahomes isn't going to compete with Taylor Swift. Um, the discourse around Taylor Swift is just so interesting because there's one side that's like, oh, NFL cares way too much about Taylor Swift, and the NFL's actually come out to defend themselves against them focus on Taylor Swift. But what the NFL is saying is, I mean, this is an opportunity for us to get a lot of new fans who may have not watched it. Apparently, 27 million people watched this game between the Chiefs and an Aaron Rodgers-less Jets. And apparently, according to metrics, something like 2 million of those were female.
Whoa.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know
NBC, like Taylor Swift saved Sunday Night Football because NBC, of course, was hoping was going to be an Aaron Rodgers versus Patrick Mahomes game, but Aaron Rodgers was, and you saw what Aaron Rodgers called Travis Kelsey.
Mr. Pfizer. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers
Yeah.
Kurt Schilling territory pretty quickly himself. I mean, I don't know. Like, some wild.
He likes his what is the drink that he likes to like the
ayahuasca tea, but apparently
ayahuasca.
it doesn't prevent him from getting Achilles injuries. Apparently, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also, I will say this: I do have one legitimate thing I want to bring up from this game. When I've watched the Chiefs this year, there's something off about Patrick Mahomes. I don't exactly know what it is. And I don't know, maybe if I'm looking at him with rose-colored glasses from the past. But he just seems a little more off this year. Like, I feel like there's a lot of throws he's not making that he would have made in the past. There are a lot of inaccuracies. And because I watched this series after series against the Jets, and I know the Jets have a really good defense, and that might have been a big part of it. He doesn't look smooth right now. When Patrick Mahomes played in the past, he was smooth. I mean, one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen. It doesn't look like the game is coming easy to him or this offense right now. And I'm curious if that will change throughout some point of this year. Because otherwise, I'm going to have some serious questions about the Chiefs being able to repeat.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick Mahomes seems a little bit off. Of course, he's still one of the best in the league, but yeah, I think he's been a little bit reckless. I think he's more reckless than he should, and that's something Andy Reid is going to have to work out.
Oh yeah, and I think they will work it out just fine. But I haven't been terribly impressed with him the first month of the season. Some of us haven't been terribly impressed with Desmond Ridder. Man, the London game was just a nightmare, an absolute disaster. He was doing his best Jared Garantano impression with back-to-back picks, including one of those being a pick six. And I think what makes it worse is this was a Toy Story game, so he threw his pick sixes in animation. So, yeah, Atlanta needs to do QB because otherwise you don't want to waste Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, Drake London. They have too much good young talent that they're wasting on a bad quarterback. They need a new quarterback. Otherwise, the Falcons aren't going to be – you won't be able to take them seriously until they do. And in the game of the week, Bills blew out the Dolphins 48-20. And The Bills to me right now are the favorite in the AFC East, but I will say this: I still don't trust them in January. They have to prove to me they can win in January. But they looked good on Sunday. But they're going to have to prove it to me.
Yeah, especially when I think they're gonna, or even when they come up with a team that has a good quarterback.
Yep. But hey, Bills look good right now after that week 1 debacle where Josh Allen just fell apart.
Yeah.
All right, week 5 starts tomorrow. So let's pick some games, shall we?
Yeah, let's go real quick. The picks. So Thursday night football. Oh my God! I mean, I can't. What? Are you
Why?
laughing about? Yeah,
Why?
you're laughing about the game. Yes. Why?
What is that about the why? The Bears and Commanders? Who chose this game?
Yes. I feel bad for all Michaels and Curb Street. They don't deserve. There's just two awful teams. I mean, I think Commanders are gonna. I bet the over. I think they're gonna win by 1 touchdown. But good God, like
Yeah, Commanders. You can watch this game for as little as $60. So
yes, yes, it's gonna cost more for finding a parking space than a actual ticket. I bet.
yeah.
So London game, the London Jacksonville Jaguars playing the Bills. Give me Buffalo.
You know what? Give me Jacksonville. Because I think Jacksonville, they've been over in London. I think that will help them against the Bills who have to come over. Give me Jacksonville.
I bet Jag fans are not happy seeing their team, kind of staying back to back in overseas. Make them wonder.
Yeah, in the NFL, they're really trying to rip their team away from them. Watch out, they're about to get the A's treatment. I feel like.
Yeah. Oh, I. This is a potential decisive matchup for both. 2-2 Falcons versus 2-2 Texans. I mean, whoever wins this game are going to feel very confident they can, get to the playoffs.
Oh yeah, and you know what? I'm going to go with C.J. Stroud and the Texans because C.J. Stroud right now is balling. I mean, the weapons he's got around him, Tank Dell and Nico Collins. Like the Texans are legitimately really, really good.
Give me Texans. I think it's going to be by a field goal.
Yep.
So the 3-1 Detroit Lions against the 0-4 Carolina Panthers. I mean, give me the Lions. I feel so bad for CJ Stroud. I feel so bad for him.
Bryce Young.
Oh, Bryce Young. Sorry. I mean,
CJ Stroud's really good. Bryce Young, it's a disaster right now.
Yeah, I feel bad for Bryce Young. I bet Mick Saban probably speaking, oh boy, I wish I could have Bryce Young back. And Bryce Young is speaking, oh boy, I wish I was back in Bama.
Yeah, maybe he should have stayed another year because, man, Carolina is bad. And also, this is why you don't hire retread coaches like Frank Reich. The Lions are going to win.
Oh, this one is really, really big for the AFC South. And probably Jason already went to sleep, but the 2-2 Colts playing the 2-2 Titans and in Indianapolis. And the Colts lost both games at home, and the Titans lost both games on the road.
And the Titans are 2-point favorites, which I find super interesting. I think, I believe I'm not incorrect. I think Richardson is. No, Richardson, I think, is playing. So I'm not exactly sure why they're underdogs. I mean, it's a pick 'em. I'm going to be honest, I'm going to go with Colts. The Titans have to prove to me they can play on the road. They have to prove to me they can play on the road. They can win this game. I think it'll be a close game. And I know the Titans recently have had the Indianapolis Colts number over the past couple of years. But I do think the Titans, until they prove me otherwise, I'm taking the Colts.
I think this one's going to be a blowout. The 3-1 Dolphins hosting the 1-3 Giants. Give me the Dolphins. I think Miami definitely is going to cover the. I mean, this spread is too low. It's not minus 11 points. Miami definitely. I'll bet the over by far.
Yeah, I fell asleep watching the New York Giants the other night. That's how bad they are. They're laughably bad. Yeah,
Very laughably.
Who are you taking in Colts Titans?
Oh, give me the Titans. I always believe in the Titans when you don't believe in them. That's my rule. That's always will be my rule in this podcast.
That should be real because that works out more often than not.
Yes, it always works. Always works.
Yes.
But so let's move on. I guess we both picked the Dolphins. So the New England Patriots hosting the New Orleans Saints. I guess New England is favored one minus 1 point because I guess Derek Carr is probably questionable. I don't know. This game feels like a tie. I don't know.
I'll go Patriots, but it'll be a game that's not gonna be on red zone that much. It'll be an ugly one.
Yeah, and to end the 1 o'clock window, 1 p.m. Eastern time, 2 p.m. Brazil time window. This was a good one. The 3-1 Ravens going to Pittsburgh to play the Steelers. I mean, if the Steelers want to have any chance of going to the playoffs, they have to win this game.
Yeah, and they're not going to. The Steelers' offense is atrocious. Kenny Pickett, I believe he is going to play, but he isn't going to be 100%. Matt Canada needs to go. Ravens, I think, win. I think they're going to win big.
Definitely, I mean, I'll bet the under. Give me Baltimore by a field goal. I'll bet the under. Now the 5 p.m. games. I mean, if anybody who told me the Cardinals and the Bengals will have the same record going to week 5, I would say that's insane. But the 1-3 Cardinals hosting the 1-3 Bengals.
And that Josh Dobbs has outplayed Joe Burrow for the first 4 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ride with my Rocket Man here. Give me the Cardinals.
Give me Cincinnati. I think they're going to – I'll bet even the line. I think the line says Cincinnati -3. I think that's going to happen.
See, the other 405 game here, Eagles 4-0 at the Rams. 2-2.
Give me Philly. Give me Philly.
You know what? Actually, give me Los Angeles. I think the Rams pull off the upset.
Oh, my God. This game, the 1-3 Broncos hosted the 1-3 Jets. I mean, in theory, if Aaron Rodgers would have been available, it would be a nice game. You know, the rematch of the 2014 NFC Championship game. You know, quarterbacks, but I'll go. Give me the Jets.
I agree. Give me the Jets too. I think Zach Wilson, showed some flashes the other night. He could have a really good game here. Denver's defense is just, woof.
Yeah. Oh. Sean Payton has a lot of work in that area.
Yeah.
So the last 4:25 game here in Brazil, 5:25. The 1-3 Vikings hosting the 3-1 Chiefs. I mean, give me the Chiefs. I think I'll bet the over. I think they're going to win by 1 touchdown. And I mean the quarterback matchup is so uneven.
Right. I think what happened. I think the Chiefs win by like a couple of points. The Vikings will have the ball in the last possession, and Kirk Cousins, like he always does, throws a pick or doesn't convert a first down.
But that's NBC got lucky. That's by far the best game of week 5. The 4-0 San Francisco 49ers hosting the 3-1 Dallas Cowboys, the rematch of last season's NFC divisional round. And give me the Cowboys. I think they're gonna. I think since we're talking so much about revenge, Tennessee, the Titans, the Volunteers, the Titans, now the Cowboys.
Actually, I agree. I like the Cowboys here. This is a game where Dak's going to want to play really well because it isn't January. And, obviously there'll be all kinds of narratives after this one of, oh, Dak Prescott, he finally knows how to win big games. But, as I said, won't really believe it until I see it in January. But I think it's a chance for them to get a big win.
And the Monday Night Football, I mean, I don't understand how this game has tickets as low as $290. I guess Vegas is going to attract football fans no matter what game is played because the 1-3 Raiders are hosting the 2-2 Packers. And
it's a historic rivalry, too, between Packers and Raiders,
Yeah, but as much as historical it is, neither teams are like Super Bowl contenders or even playoff contenders. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo versus Jordan
Love.
Jordan Love.
Yeah, and I think Jordan Love gets it done here, mostly because Josh McDaniels is just a horrifically bad head coach. So bad. He needs to be fired.
You definitely don't want on your team.
Definitely don't want him on our team. But I guess that'll do it here for episode 97 of Two Countries, Two Americas, All Sports. When we come back, we'll have more baseball playoffs, more football, more Brazilian soccer as the season continues to be in full swing. For Gustavo Tomazeli down in Maricana, Sao Paulo, Brazil, I'm Nick Hill in Chattanooga, Tennessee, United States. And you've been listening to the only Brazilian and American sports podcast, Two Countries, Two Americas, All Sports. Have a good one.